Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Today we're talking all about fortresses. We are going to be using Wizard Unite's hub guide to fortresses by It's Stupefies. Thanks to them. I'll put the link to it in the description below. You guys can go check that out, and they've got loads of other good content related to the game, that helpful guides. So we're going to be talking about fortresses today. If you're interested in content like this, make sure to hit subscribe because I'll be putting out a ton of information and tips just like this. So let's get into it. Rune Stones, fortress floors, time limits, minimum level, base rating charts, additional info on chambers and Rune Stones, chamber Rune Stones, challenges and strategic spells, reports from players, and tips and tricks. That's what we're going to be getting into in this guide. So, a fortress in Wizard Unite is a 5-person dungeon scenario that requires a Rune Stone to enter. So these are the Rune Stones, as we can see there with the 10. Players are required to group up, bring different professions, and progress through fortress floors. Higher floors will give better rewards, but they are also more difficult to complete. Fortresses are shown on your map as a red-coloured castle. And we're going to be going through the guide of how, what the difficulty is, how many players you need for each level. So Rune Stones. Fortresses contain a number of chambers, each one increasing in difficulty. In order to enter chamber, you need to spend a Rune Stone. Rune Stone level determines the difficulty of the enemies you face. So they range between 1 and 10, I believe. And so obviously 10 means a higher level. And I think they're harder to acquire as well, so they're more rare. Rune Stone level determines the difficulty and the amount of loot rewards you get, while its family determines the type of registry rewards you'll receive. So they have different colours which will relate to a different part of the registry. Getting registry rewards is not guaranteed. There are two types of rewards. There are two types of rewards. While fragments and challenge level points are guaranteed, there are also non-guaranteed bonus fragments rewarded, and if you receive one of those, then you are guaranteed exploration registry level points. So that'll go towards your registry level. And the first player to activate a Rune Stone creates a fortress lobby, where up to 5 players can join at once. Once you're in the lobby, you'll see a number of representing difficulty rating. And the higher the number, the higher the difficulty. Difficulty rating is influenced by the number of players, chamber you're in, and Rune Stones used. If you leave the lobby before the 30-second timer runs out, your Rune Stone will be returned to you, so you're not going to lose it. Fortress floors. Time limits, minimum level, base rating chart. Each fortress floor has several stats associated with it. From available time to minimal player level, the following chart showcases these stats from floor 1 to 20. So these are the 20 levels that you can pick in the fortresses. The available time, so just like in Pokemon Go, the higher the difficulty, the longer you will get to take it down. And we have the time knockout time, so once you've started, it will knock you out if you don't respond after 30 seconds. You get a bit more time for the higher ratings. I imagine that's time to give people to join. Minimal player rate level you're going to have for each of those ranges between 1 and 10. So it's not a high level that you need to take down level 20 floor. The minimum player level, so it's very likely it's just 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So it kind of goes up. You have to be a level higher every 2 floor levels. And the base rating 0 ranges to 3,230. This was extracted from the Game Master file by Pandreas96. Next, we have additional info on chambers and runes. This was credits to Magic9x on Reddit. Rune Stones are modifiers on rewards. For example, 1.2 times XP. Is that 1.2 times XP or just 2 times XP? But make floors more difficult. Chamber is what determines what foundable you get. So chambers dictate base level of difficulty and impact on what foundable reward you'll get. For example, books from earlier tiers and later tiers, you're more likely to get 1s. There's also a bunch of foundable rewards which aren't in challenge category. For example, the Fountain of Magical Brethren from the Ministry of Magic Registry, or the Sword of Gryffindor from the Mysterious Artifacts. These are based on the Rune Stone type that you use. Chamber level doesn't matter. So what we mean by that is Rune Stones have different colours. So it impacts on the floor difficulty. Floor difficulty equals more HP, harder foes. So it'll be harder to take down. They also dictate the type of registry collection. XP will be rewarded. The XP reward you get. You don't always seem to get the collection of XP though. Seems to be a chance. Okay. Impacts on Rune Stones will impact on your rewards in terms of XP with a modifier. So level 1 will have a modifier of 1, level 2 1.1, and so forth 1.15. Building as you take their higher levels. Values are in the APK if somebody wants to confirm. If you watch the final success animation screen after doing a fort, it will tell you your runestone modifier when it's adding up the XP. Basically, you're right in using level 1 stones until your character is stronger. Once you have a higher level, you can use the higher level stones to get better rewards. And there's probably a better balance to make runes rewarding, I think it's meant to say, but not too difficult that they take too long. If I'm doing a lower level chamber with someone else, I might use a higher stone to make it a bit more worthwhile for me. That way, they'll still get the completion bonus, but I'll get a little bit more benefit from doing a low level chamber. So you do want to be using those higher levels in a team more likely. Challenges and strategic spells. So in order to complete a challenge, you'll need to defeat all of the enemies on the floor before the timer runs out. You can see the number of enemies in the top right corner of the screen. As soon as you start the floor, our timer will start running. Before engaging in combat, you can use strategic spells to weaken your enemies or to buff your team members. Your strategic spells are available on the bottom of the screen. Each strategic spell can cost focus to use, so be careful which spells you use and plan your buffs and debuffs wisely. You can replenish your focus by defeating the enemies with a focus icon next to them. So these little icons are your abilities, and you use them and will drag them towards the enemy, and you will then have the strategic spell placed, maybe potentially giving you a buff depending on what type of profession you are. So auras, magizoologists and professors all have different strategic spells, and their focus levels, how much they require, changes. Reports from players. While we don't know everything yet about fortresses, so this screen is a picture of when you enter into fortress. You can see that you have to complete the higher level rune chambers. You have to complete the previous before to unlock the next one, so you can't just go straight to doing the level 20. While we don't know everything about fortresses in Wizard Unite, we do know a few facts based on reports from Reddit, Magic9x. A Wizard Unite Redditor shared some of his notes on completing fortresses on a team of players. So these are just some tips and things he's noted. Each enemy may only be engaged by a single player at each time. So unlike Pokemon Go, where you're all attacking, taking down the raid boss, only one person at a time is allowed, which is an interesting choice. Only players outside of combat can use their abilities. This means you probably want your Magizoologists sitting out of the fight if there are more players than enemies, since Magizoologists can spam heals on people who are fighting. Rewards are not impacted by having multiple players in a fortress. It's the same rewards as if you were solo, so going in with more people, not going to get rewards higher. Fights are significantly easier as a team, since you'll almost always have one person out of combat who's able to use their abilities to assist the rest of the team while they're fighting the enemies. So if you've got less team members, you're not going to be able to have as much time somebody sitting out just spamming the abilities to help you out. There's no level restrictions until the very last few fortress floors. This means that you're able to group with level 1s and carry them through the early tiers of the fortress. Enemies do have levels too. Around the 7th, 8th tier of the fortress, you're generally fighting at level 55, 65-ish enemies, so quite high at that point. I have around 200 HP and they'll hit me for 50 and 60. Okay, so around those times you're going to need a lot of HP, and you're going to need heals, otherwise you're only going to last 4 hits. Tips and tricks. So real-time multiplayer versus enemy battles. So this means that Wizards Unite players will battle against AI instead of going up against each other. The difficulty of enemies will increase with each floor. Fortresses feature various floors, rooms filled with different enemies. The first floor will be easy and the floors will be getting more difficult. And the further upwards that you progress, clear all floors and enemies in time, you will defeat the fortress. In addition to that, I might say it later on, but different professions, its players will choose either or. So different professions will have different abilities, strength against some of those different types of enemies. So Magic Zoologist, I think, is more powerful against beasts, and that buff is almost like 250% of what damage that they would usually do if they didn't have that buff. So you're going to have them doing almost 2.5 times damage. So when you're picking who you want to go in the battles, it's probably going to be better to, learn those different types and go in with the ones with a buff. Players will choose either auras, Magizoologists, or professors. Up to 5 players can battle a fortress at once. All 3 professions will be beneficial to have in the same group. It's best to have a balance. These professions are explained in the detailed professions wiki. We know that auras are strong suited in spells. They're ultimately the DPS profession of wizards, so they do massive damage per second. And Magizoologist is described as being the tank profession in Wizard Unite and a healer. Don't know much yet about the professor other than it's been led by a professor, so we do know him a bit now. It's a balance of the two, so they have good strong output and also good defense, but not like really high DPS and not strong healers as Magizoologist. Each player picks an enemy on a fortress floor in which he or she will fight against. In order to beat the fortress, you must take out all of the enemies. To do this, each person in your group will pick an enemy to fight against. Each profession will be stronger against certain enemies. So going back to what I said before, we'll update this area more as we find out which professions are superior to the enemies. So we know that now, and you can check out the video on professions that I've put out that just details some of what they've found. If the time runs out, you will lose the fortress. If you're defeated, you will lose. As we've seen the predecessor to Wizards Unite, you most definitely can run out of time. If this is the case, you'll lose the fortress and be removed. At this time, it's unclear whether or not you'll lose your Rune Stone or not. This is being said. If your whole group gets knocked out, you will also lose the fortress. I'd imagine that you would lose that Rune Stone. I'd imagine you wouldn't get a second chance to use it, but you do in Pokemon Go. If you fail to beat it, you still get access to that raid, and you can keep replaying it. It depends. So they might choose either or. It'll be interesting to see. Rewards as well as difficulty increase as you progress with each floor. So we do not know yet what the rewards are for completing fortresses or progressing floors. We will update this with more information as we discover it. We do know that each floor you progress, the difficulty will increase. You will unlock rewards for progressing and beating the fortress. For updates involving fortress, please feel free to bookmark this page. Yeah, so when this is update, I'll put out a video detailing some of those bits that we don't know. But that's everything that you're going to need going into fortresses at the beginning. Massive thanks to Wizard Unite Hub. They've done a great job on the articles, and definitely go check this out because there's a ton of other bit of tips, different articles and different strategies in different parts of the game. Okay, but that's all for this one. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been helpful. If it has, please hit the like button and hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with future content related to Harry Potter Wizards Unite. That's all from me. See you guys soon.